Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're putting on our detective hats to uncover what is, honestly, a massive medical mystery. We're talking about a vital organ system that works entirely under the radar and why so many older Americans are unknowingly suffering from chronic kidney disease. It's kind of the silent threat, right? But by the end of our time together, you're going to have the exact tools you need to spot the hidden clues.
90%. I mean, wow. Right now, over 38% of all Americans over the age of 60 have chronic kidney disease. But here's the truly shocking part. 90% of those individuals have absolutely no idea they have it. None. They're just walking around, living their everyday lives, while a completely critical piece of their internal machinery is quietly shutting down.
Okay, let's dive right into this. Here's our roadmap for The Explainer. We'll hit 1, the silent workhorse. 2, 5 missed warning signs. 3, 2 essential medical tests. And 4, protecting your kidneys.
All right, starting off with part 1, the silent workhorse.
So to understand how things go wrong, we really first have to appreciate the sheer, unbelievable volume of work these two fist-sized organs actually do for us. They just sit quietly right below your rib cage, but every single minute of every single day, your kidneys are silently filtering about 1.5 liters of blood. I mean, just think about that volume. It's like a giant biological water treatment plant, constantly working to remove waste products, clear out excess fluid and toxins, and perfectly balance your electrolytes. Without this constant round-the-clock filtration, metabolic byproducts would just quickly accumulate and literally poison every single organ system in your body.
But like any hard-working machine, this incredible filtration system operates on a timeline. You know, after you hit 40, your kidneys naturally lose about 1% of their filtering capacity each year. So by age 60, functioning at about 80% of your peak capacity is totally normal. However, there are things that throw a real wrench in the gears. Common conditions, specifically diabetes and high blood pressure, drastically accelerate this decline far beyond normal aging. See, chronically high blood sugar directly damages those super delicate filtration structures, while high blood pressure damages the blood vessels themselves. So the damage just speeds right up, way faster than normal aging.
Moving right along to part 2, the silent detective, 5 missed warning signs.
Here's the catch. Because your kidneys do their job without you actually feeling a thing, they can lose up to 90% of their functional capacity before producing obvious symptoms. By that point, well, the window for early intervention is often totally closed. So we've got to learn to spot the body's subtle clues early, and this brilliantly illustrates our first sign, changes in urination, specifically a condition called proteinuria. Imagine a coffee filter that gets a tiny tear in it. Suddenly, boom, coffee grounds end up in your mug. Well, your kidneys work exactly the same way. Healthy kidneys keep virtually all the protein safely inside your bloodstream. But when those delicate filtration membranes get damaged by things like high blood sugar, a protein called albumin literally leaks into the urine. This creates a visibly foamy or bubbly appearance in the toilet that just doesn't go away after flushing. If you see that, it is a massive red flag.
Our second warning sign is edema, which is a very specific type of swelling. When kidneys start failing, they can't properly regulate fluid or excrete excess sodium anymore. And gravity naturally draws all this retained fluid downward. This causes symmetrical swelling, meaning it happens on both sides, in your legs, ankles, or feet. And we call it pitting edema because if you actually press a finger into the swollen area, it leaves a visible indentation for several seconds. It's crazy how many older adults just brush this off, right? They blame it on simply sitting in their recliner for too long, completely missing what's really going on.
Warning sign number 3 is persistent fatigue. But listen, this is not the kind of tiredness you're probably thinking of. We really have to contrast your ordinary, everyday tiredness with what's called uremic fatigue. As your kidney function drops, nasty toxins build up in your blood, a state called uremia. On top of that, healthy kidneys actually produce a hormone that tells your bone marrow to make red blood cells. So failing kidneys mean fewer red blood cells, which leads to severe anemia. Combine the toxins in the anemia, and it causes a profound, debilitating exhaustion and shortness of breath. This goes way, way beyond just feeling your age.
And that brings us to a really fascinating question, and our fourth warning sign. What does itchy skin have to do with your kidneys? I mean, it sounds totally unrelated, right? But countless people end up sitting in a dermatologist's office trying to solve severe skin issues, completely unaware that the actual culprit is sitting right under their rib cage.
The official medical term for this is pruritus. You see, when kidneys start failing, they lose the ability to efficiently filter out phosphorus from the blood. So where does all that excess phosphorus go?
It deposits right into your skin, and that causes an intense, persistent itching sensation that is usually worst at night. Because this is an internal chemical issue, your standard over-the-counter moisturizers or anti-itch creams, they simply cannot fix it.
Which brings us to our fifth and final set of warning signs, neurological symptoms. The human brain is exquisitely sensitive to any changes in the blood's chemical makeup. When those uremic toxins accumulate and electrolytes, like calcium and magnesium, become unbalanced, the brain really struggles. This actually manifests as unexplained brain fog, memory lapses, and dizziness from the anemia we mentioned. Plus, the electrolyte imbalances trigger severe muscle cramps, twitching, and restless leg syndrome at night. Basically, your brain is sounding the alarm that your blood isn't being cleaned.
All right, let's look at part 3, solving the mystery with 2 essential medical tests.
Now that you know the clues to look for, it's time to transition to the solution phase of this explainer. The fantastic news here is that chronic kidney disease is highly detectable long before these symptoms even appear. But you need to know exactly which tools to ask your doctor for. Basically, every American over 60 needs 2 specific tests annually. The first is serum creatinine with eGFR. This measures your blood to estimate just how efficiently your kidneys are filtering. But the second test, and this is so important, is the urine albumin to creatinine ratio. This looks for that leaking protein we talked about earlier. So the crucial point is this: significant early kidney damage can exist with a totally normal eGFR score, but with detectable albumin in the urine. So many Americans only get the blood test and entirely miss the vital early warning provided by the urine test. You really need both.
Let's briefly break down what your eGFR score actually means, just so you're prepared when you get your results. So, an eGFR above 90 is considered normal function. A score between 60 and 89 means mildly reduced function, which is fairly typical for normal aging. However, if your score falls between 30 and 59, your function is moderately reduced. That right there is the critical zone where a referral to a nephrologist, a kidney specialist, is strongly warranted. And anything below 30, that indicates severely reduced function.
And finally, part 4, the solution: protecting your kidneys after 60.
Now that we know exactly how to identify the problem, let's focus entirely on the medical and lifestyle changes you need to protect your cardiovascular and kidney health moving forward. Here are the 3 most critical medical interventions for you and your doctor. Step 1. Control your blood pressure tightly, ideally keeping it below 130/80. This is literally the single most important intervention for slowing disease progression. Step 2. Manage your blood sugar. If you're diabetic, you absolutely need to ask your doctor about a class of medications called SGLT2 inhibitors. Clinical trials show these can remarkably reduce the risk of kidney disease progression by up to 40%. That is huge. And step 3, avoid nephrotoxic, meaning kidney-damaging medications.
Now, what's really interesting and honestly kind of scary about this slide is this surprisingly common danger, NSAIDs. We're talking about totally ordinary, over-the-counter pain relievers like ibuprofen and naproxen. Older Americans use these constantly to treat daily arthritis and joint pain, but chronic use of these medications can drastically reduce blood flow to your kidneys. It is incredibly common for someone to accidentally cause severe acute kidney injury while just trying to manage their chronic knee or back pain. So definitely always consult your doctor about pain management alternatives.
Finally, let's look at the daily, actionable habits you can easily control at home. First up, hydrate. Drink sufficient water throughout the day to maintain adequate blood flow to your organs. Second, adopt a kidney protective diet. This basically means eating meals lower in sodium and avoiding the excessive phosphorus found in a lot of processed foods and soft drinks. Also, if your function is already reduced, limiting your animal protein intake can really help lower the workload and strain on your kidneys. And lastly, work closely with your doctor to actively monitor and treat any signs of anemia to reduce your cardiovascular burden.
Your kidneys are arguably the most remarkable, totally underappreciated organs in your entire body. They protect you every single minute of the day, completely in silence. But, as we've learned, that silence is their greatest vulnerability. So I leave you with this final thought. Are you ready to protect them? Listen to the subtle, silent signals your body is sending you. Please, don't just brush off the foamy urine, the weird fatigue, or the swollen ankles. At your next appointment, advocate for yourself and specifically request those 2 vital tests. The kidneys you protect today are exactly what will keep you healthy, vibrant, and independent for decades to come. Thank you so much for joining me in this explainer.